So this is a journey to meet Saturn in your life, in your destiny. And we're meeting Saturn through the lens of our astrology birth charts. Western astrology depicts our psychological reality. And so we will perceive the effects of Saturn on our psychology, our psychological attitudes to life, our psychological scripts. And we will perceive Saturn through the lenses of the house Saturn occupies, the sign Saturn occupies, the aspects made to Saturn by the other planets, and the chart aspects shapes that Saturn is part of, depicting sub-personalities within our psychology. And it's so worthwhile to get this picture of Saturn, the god and planet, who, like all the planets, sends his energy rays and reflected light to each one of us and to the earth. But also Saturn in our Western birth chart. But more than that, it's also essential to get a picture of Saturn depicted within our Vedic astrology birth chart. Our Vedic astrology birth chart depicts our incarnational life purpose, of which our psychology and our psychological attitude is just a part, a most important part, but just a part. And so we need to meet Saturn, the god and planet, Saturn in our Vedic birth chart, through the lenses of the sign Saturn occupies, the house Saturn occupies, the aspects Saturn makes and receives from other planets, and most importantly, the nakshatra or lunar sign that Saturn occupies. The perception we can get from journeying to meet our Saturn is truly vast. And we have to remember predictive astrology. Saturn will bring us karmic messages through his transits and predictive periods, the dashas. And the other planets and the predictive periods will activate Saturn. If we have the perception of Saturn as planet and god, and if we have good perception of Saturn in our birth charts, we are not the prisoner of Saturn's negative scripts, negative receptions of Saturn's energy. We are not the prisoner anymore. We can use the perception to genuinely heal, genuinely change, genuinely transform, genuinely chart a path forward to get to the reward that Saturn truly promises, which is reward for patience, hard work, diligence, structure. It's golden reaping. It's living in harmony with our destiny and with the others in our life, and living in harmony with the special achievements we incarnated to make in this lifetime, so that we're not destroying them by negative responses to Saturn. But we are bringing Saturn's qualities so as to harvest those special incarnational life purposes. So I am going to now start the journey looking at the Western astrology birth charts. And the idea is that you develop your own picture of Saturn as God and planet, and then see what your reception of Saturn is through the Western astrology birth chart. So before we actually open the chart in our mind, we must develop clear appearance of Saturn, the God energy embodied within the planet, that the planet radiates outwards in the great energy net of the cosmos in which our mind and consciousness dwells. So Saturn at his lowest, see before your mind's eye the Grim Reaper. You have messed it up this lifetime. You have not made amends. Love has not been rebuilt by those errors. The Grim Reaper stands before you. He is not the God, but he is the picture of the God that your mind creates. Because of what you have done. We are all born from previous life negative karmas. We are all born from previous life achievements and positive karmas. But until we burn the negative karmas, we will see Saturn as mean and spiteful and deformed. Mean and spiteful and deformed, bringing ugliness to the areas of our body and our life that he touches. Be aware of this. When we are young, we're blind to the truths of our incarnation, to the truths of life, to our effects on others. But it is through our mistakes that we learn that somehow we have to heal the negative karmas we have created. And in doing so, healing modalities can actually work backwards through our inheritance, our heredity, our previous relationships from previous lives, and heal. And so, where we see the Grim Reaper, the spiteful, deformed, crippled Saturn, what we are seeing is Saturn's law of consequence as it stands in our life. And so we can be depressed, held back, miserable and blocked, and blaming everything and others. And so the gift of the God is that we can get clear perception of those feelings and reactions and events, and see the divine hand of the God moving through the energy field that surrounds us, calling us to get clear perception and to do something about it, to heal wounds and damage to love, to develop patience and perseverance, to honor structure, to honor the truth that actions and states of consciousness have consequences. This is inescapable. And as we begin to do that in our life, and the upcoming journey through our astrology charts gives us great perception about the role of Saturn in our life, then we can perceive Saturn without the veils of our ignorance and projection as a glorious Brahmin, sannyasi, who sees it all, as a god of agricultural people stretching back thousands upon thousands of years, who know that you have to sow in order to reap. Who know that you have to work for the golden harvest. But that if you can do the right things in tilling the soil and sowing the seeds and nurturing the crops and clearing the invading weeds, the gift of this great being you see before you in your mind's eye will be golden reaping from the sickle of harvest. Now we are seeing the being that embodies this truth that humanity has lived with for many, many, many thousands of years. Saturn as agricultural deity, as Lord of harvest. So let us now bear this in mind as we consider our own birth charts. So what sign in your Western astrology birth chart is Saturn occupying? What does it mean? What does it mean to have Saturn in Aries? What does it mean to have Saturn in Pisces? If we have Saturn in Virgo, it can mean great attention to detail. And you get lost in detail until you can go through that and use your ability of detail to harvest the great talents in right living in the case of Virgo, in healing in the case of Virgo. So what sign in your Western astrology chart does Saturn occupy? What is the Saturn challenge for you? What is the Saturn reaping? Astrology shows you that you should work towards. We can't escape our Saturn destiny. It's no good pretending we can. We hurt ourselves and others if we negligently pretend we can. We hurt ourselves and others if we drain our life through addictions and escapes. through negative scripts that agitate the presence of Saturn in us. And what house does Saturn occupy in your Western astrology? For example, if Saturn is in the second house, there will be a block to value. Which you have to perceive and work to heal. If Saturn is in the 12th house, you may be the beach bum. Maybe your father never got through to you. The need for responsibility structure and the fact of consequence and the need for continuity. So what house does Saturn occupy in your chart in Western astrology? What is the Saturn challenge? What will be the Saturn reward? And we also need to consider the aspects Saturn sends to other planets. The aspects Saturn receives from other planets. If Saturn is opposite Mars, he can crush and shame your needed inner warrior, your needed inner masculine. Your life can be a stupid, pointless battle between Mars pitting himself against Saturn and Saturn's restrictions in a way that even damages the need for Saturn's structures and strategies and trashes any chance of Saturn's harvest. But equally, Saturn can mean that you can't start anything when he opposes Mars. He can shame your rightful Mars within. So what aspects does Saturn have with other planets in your Western birth chart? See Saturn. See the aspecting planets. Let this journey be the start of a vision journey where you develop clear appearance of each of them and see what they do to each other. This is psychosynthesis. And then use that perception to healing. It is wonderful what transits to a difficult aspects can bring to heal negative aspects, to boost positive aspects. Where is Saturn transiting now in your Western chart? On top of which planet? Through which house? And then move to your Vedic birth chart. This is not psychological like the Western astrology chart. What sign does Saturn occupy in your Vedic birth chart? If he is in Leo, the sign of the Son and the Father, then you chose a destiny where the father principle would be blocked and occluded. And what is the consequences of that in your life, not to have the earthly father properly? How so? Can you stand and put your hand in the hand of the Heavenly Father? Saturn in the sign in the Vedic birth chart describes the destiny. The psychological consequence is described by the sign Saturn occupies in the Western birth chart. And what house does Saturn occupy in your Vedic birth chart? If it's in the 11th house, reaping of rewards for your actions in your life will be crushed until and if you learn how your behaviors achieve that. And so, armed with that perception, you can then reap structured rewards. Saturn in the 11th. And you can sensibly arrange your life and your loving relationships to support Saturn's gift possibility in your life. And then there's aspects. So if Mars is conjunct Saturn, Mars may not be sensible. He might be go, 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 and trash and harm Saturn, so that the structures you need in your life will be smashed by your Mars impatience, your Mars frustration, your chosen blindness. Will you have the chance in this life to develop the perception needed? Will you have the chance in your life to heal it? Or will you angrily say and proudly say, I'm not changing? And then most supremely, there's the nakshatra that Saturn occupies in your Vedic birth chart. The nakshatras divinely, awesomely depict our emotional self and our consciousness arising therefrom. So often, these are negative behavior patterns and consciousness states. But in learning to perceive what's such a likely to be by studying the nakshatras, you can see, oh, it's happening again. You can transform by using healing modalities. You can heal the wounds inherent in planetary placements in nakshatras. And so if Rahu is in the fourth quarter, the fourth pada of Chitra, well, the amazing occult truth is that you will be thrown to give utterance, because this pada is about the book of life, which is ruled over by Chitragupta, who is Thoth. It's about the book where our actions are recorded, which are read to us at the time of our death, to decide where we go. The ancient Egyptians had maps. Do we go to heaven or hell before the next incarnation. If Saturn is in Magha, there will be a wound to your connection with ancestral inheritance. But a wound you have perforce to heal and build yourself so that you pass on a better kingly inheritance. If Saturn is in the 27th nakshatra Revati, it's about ethical perception of karmas that needed to be cleared up in oneself and others. A task that has to be done. And so in which nakshatra is your Saturn placed in your Vedic birth chart? In which pada? Develop perception of that. Then work on any needed healing so as to restore the flow of love through your life and all the lives you have touched in previous lives, in this life, in upcoming lives. Heal the damage and thus receive and pass on to others Lord Shani's golden reaping.